Well, it's been a while, guys. I've been really busy, so I figured in this next episode we would take the next logical step in our journey. Our next logical step in this journey is the way I started. I started with a point and shoot camera. Now, I can hear a lot of people out there talking. The point and shoot camera, really? Yeah, it isn't the most ideal camera to shoot astrophotography, but believe it or not, you can. Let me show you. So you just started doing astrophotography. And if you've started like the way that I showed in the first couple episodes, most of you have probably started with a smartphone. But there's a next step after that. That's actually using a real camera to do astrophotography. The problem usually is when you buy a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, you're spending a lot of money. Well, there's an answer to a more cheaper option. And for a lot of beginners out there, especially the younger crowd, they don't have a lot of money. And when I first started this hobby, I started with a point and shoot camera. And a lot of people look at me crazy. A point and shoot camera, they're terrible. Not really. It depends on which one you get. And I mean, I have many point and shoot cameras because I do daylight photography and they work great. They take great pictures. But for astrophotography, mostly point and shoot cameras are hit and miss. The technology is just now starting to get refined enough where you can actually shoot some pretty good astro with the point and shoot cameras that are available. But if this is where you're beginning, I highly recommend a point and shoot camera because it is kind of what I like to call a first step. And they're cheap, they're reasonable, and anybody on a small budget can afford to make this little rig. So let me show you my little rig. This right here is my point and shoot astrophotography rig. And the reason I have it this small is if I have to travel or whatever, this easily fits in my carry-on or my backpack. And if I go hiking, this can come with me. If I'm out traveling and I don't have my big gear with me, this is something I can have with me and shoot astro if I want to. One of the keys with this is you're not looking really for the most spectacular astrophotography. The point and shoot camera is basically a gateway. It's a door. You can basically use this for shooting nice star fields and night landscape pictures, and that's pretty much it. You're not finding, real spectacular stuff, but you could shoot some pretty cool pictures with it. And that's what I use this for. So in this case is my, like I like to call mini-me. It is an astrophotography rig that has been micro-sized. And let me show you what it's like. If I open my little case here, I have this little case inside. But behind it, you'll notice I have a little mini tripod, which is pretty cool. So I'll set that over here for the moment. Inside this case is the camera. This is my Canon PowerShot G9. It is a 12.1 megapixel point and shoot camera. It's also classified as a pro compact camera. The reason being is this can shoot in RAW. The Canon G9 PowerShot is the first generation or first incarnation of this particular camera. It's older. It was built back in 2008, 2009. And so it's aged quite a bit, but its capabilities are phenomenal. This camera is really cool because on the top you have manual dials for your imaging. The ISO dial you have in your mode dial. You also have a nice screen, and you can do all your settings just the way you want it. The fact that this camera shoots in RAW is what's important, because I can take those images into the camera and actually edit them. But like I said, I'm not shooting to do stacked images with this one. When I shoot with this, it's just single frames. So I'm taking basically 15-second exposures. And the beauty of this camera also is it's fast. Its focal, its ratio is f2.8, which is pretty quick. And when you shoot with a point and shoot camera, you want to shoot in its native, which means you just turn it on. You're not zooming or anything, because the sharpest pictures you're going to get out of something like this, because it has an aspherical lens, is going to be at its furthest smallest focal length. This shoots in 35 millimeter, and shooting at 15 seconds, I can get some really gorgeous pictures with it. Now, not much more than that. Basically set your white balance to daylight if you can. Set your exposures basically to 15 seconds. Make sure your focal ratio is the lowest possible. When you're in manual focus mode, make sure you set it to infinity. And make sure that the camera can shoot in RAW or the highest resolution JPEG that you can. But other than that, that's pretty much it to this camera. And it shoots amazing for what it is. But it's just in a nice small package, and it's easily affordable. Now, it goes together just like this. I just take the tripod, put it on, spin the little tripod on it, push that to the side there, whoop, and there you go. That's all it is. And I'll show you guys shooting some pictures outside with it. But like I said, we're just using this for Starscape. This is a cheap, small package, basically for the enthusiast. Not so much the pro astrophotographer, but somebody who's just trying out. And for this episode, that's what I wanted to do. For you guys who are just starting out, this is a great way to go. And you're not just limited to this type of setup. I actually use it on a full-size tripod most of the time, and it's great. What's also a good point about using this system is if you're having a night where it's windy, or where you can't really use a tracked rig, or even a really good untracked rig, this is a good little interim measure so you don't get robbed of your evening. It was really, really windy last night, and I took this out to just shoot some starscapes. I wasn't looking for anything spectacular, just some pretty starscapes, and this was a great rig to do that with. So, let me show you last night's festivities, and I'll show you a couple pictures that I took. And you guys be the judge. I'm not saying that, this is probably the best rig for astrophotography, but what I'm saying is you can use it for astrophotography. And if you're just getting into this, great way to get yourself set up. And in turn, that'll make you kind of long for it even more. And you'll build from here. You might go and buy an actual DSLR camera or a mirrorless and start making your way up the ladder. But this is a really good first step. If you're not using a smartphone, this is the next logical step. So, anyway, let me show you what happened last night. It's pretty amazing how portable this little unit is. But it's just on a little mobile tripod. Then I got my Canon G9 into the bottom of it. I have all my settings set. And if I go like this, it'll do its 2-second countdown. And we're shooting. And this is always the fun part, waiting for that shot to come down. Now it takes about 15 seconds to take the shot and about 15 seconds to process it within the camera. So we gotta wait a little bit here. Waiting. That's always the fun part, waiting. And let's see what we got here. You're seeing it as I see it. Oh, look at that. So yeah, isn't that cool? And that is how you shoot astrophotography with a point-and-shoot camera.
So just remember, everybody out there, if somebody says you can't shoot astrophotography with a point-and-shoot camera, tell them they're sadly mistaken. And then do what I showed you here. You will have a great time. And if it's what you got, it's what you got. But that doesn't mean you're out of the game. I'll see you next time on NiteZpeed.
I just noticed I'm fat.
Some dude up in the mountain just rotting on his car, let me tell you.
No matter which way I look at this damn camera, I just seem to get uglier and uglier as I go. If I had a nickel for every take I do, I would make another episode or two. If I had $1 for every take I've had to do for this episode, I could afford myself right now a 60